Business Spotlight, brought to you by Cross Rhythms and Baba Baboon.
I'm Sonia Farrell, and this is Business Spotlight in partnership with Cross Rhythms City Radio and Baba Baboon. Joining me in the studio today, we've got Benjamin Challinor from Clyk. Hi, Benjamin. How are you?
Hi, Sonia. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you for asking. We're going to be talking about Clyk. Now, we're going to be talking about IT, and I'm just going to take you back before we go any further, Benjamin, on when you started the business. Now, it was a lot of your spare time, obviously, at the beginning, and how your love sort of grew for IT. And then back in 2011, you actually went on your own, you started the business, and it hasn't stopped. And do you remember that feeling when you first pushed the button and you went on your own?
Yeah, I was working full time for somebody else, so I used to have like a t-shirt, used to get changed in the car like 5 o'clock, go work in businesses out of hours, weekends and stuff. And it just sounded really cheesy. I just turned a hobby into a business. That's actually all I did. I started off when I was like 16. I did a placement, you know, when you do like a 2-week work placement at secondary school in all stages. So I worked for that IT company in Radway Green. And that's literally when I was 16. And then from there on, all my life, I've never stopped working in IT, so that's all I've ever known. And then going back even further, I still remember like in 1998, my mum took me to PC World. It's moved, well, it's gone now actually, but at Festival Park. And I remember buying my first computer and I pulled it bits and like messed with it and just dial-up modems and all that sort of stuff. And it just sprouted from there, just as a natural progression of my love for tech, basically my love for business.
Do you know where it ever came from? Looks like you just mentioned, you know, from a young age, 16, you got that interest. Something actually hooked you into it. Do you ever remember what it was?
I've got an inclination. Like, I remember I never used to like colour. I used to like Lego and building stuff. I still love building stuff now. But I remember, like, I had the black and white Game Boy. So I was born 88, so 92, like the original black and white, and like the grey one. I never used to play with like pens or like do drawings or like stuff normal kids do. I was just always loved my Game Boy. And then I remember the VTech laptop. Going back now, it was like a laptop for kids. You played silly word games, but it was like a laptop for kids. Yeah. And then I'd like the Sega Mega Drive and all that sort of stuff. So I think I've always like been on the electronic side of like childhood, and I think it's just stemmed from there basically.
And then, like we just mentioned, you know, from 2011, you started the business. You've gone on to really, you know, grow the business quite successfully, massively, and everything that you do. You're based in Newcastle-under-Lyme. You know, you've got a cracking team of staff down there as well. But over the years then, you must have seen some changes, you know, within the IT business and everything that you do as well. Is there anything that's quite significant that sticks out for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest point's got to be, like, say going back, say 10, 15 years, you used to get like a lot of viruses on your computers, you get a lot of pop-ups, and you don't get any of that anymore, or very, very little. The fundamental change has been a shift to the data element, where people and companies are going after your data. They don't want to just wreck your computer for fun anymore, or like hobbyist hacking. They want to actually destroy your data or ransomware your data. And I think recently, fundamentally, security's got that good, antivirus has got that good, firewalls are that good now. The biggest risk is humans. I think a couple of weeks ago, the National Stats Committee released something 95% of all threats are human-based. So it's because of human error is why people are attacked. So fundamentally, it's changed from viruses to human risk, and that's the biggest change I've seen in terms of like security in the industry.
So, you know, we're talking about, so when we go into like cybersecurity then, and cybersecurity or cyber essentials, what does this mean, and how sort of important really is it then to whether it's a business or even perhaps someone who's, you know, an individual, a member of the general public perhaps?
Yeah, like cybersecurity, it's one of those, some people would argue it's like an insurance policy, and you could meet 10 businesses in the street and they never had any threats. But you're not going to feel the effects and feel the pain of that until it happens. And of course, when it happens, it's too late. So it's about like prevention, not cure. So it's about making sure you've got good protection. You've got that a team behind you, whether it's internal or outsourced or a mix of both, looking after that infrastructure. You've got the training in place. Your staff know how to look out for like a phishing scam, or they know how to look out for changing bank details, and they know to look on browsers on secure websites and just little simple things like that. You've got to prepare yourself, and I don't like coming on the angle of, it's all doom and gloom. If you don't have this and this, you're going to lose your business. But fundamentally, if you do suffer an attack a lot of businesses just wouldn't recover if they aren't prepared, they haven't got the security, and they haven't got the backups in place.
So for yourselves then, and, without going into too many specifics or naming any names or anything, but can you give an example of something that was quite sort of detrimental to a business where you've been able to step in or perhaps even provide advice for?
Yeah, the worst one we've had, and we've only seen one case of it luckily, was like a network for quite a large company locally, and one of the owners brought in a Windows 7 machine and plugged onto the network, beknownst to us. That got ransomware, and then that jumped to the Sage server, which runs all their like accounting data. So the result of that was it locked all their data out, so none of the Sage databases would open, and it jumped to the accounts PC that does all the payroll. So literally, for that company, all the finance and all the accounting and all the payroll was locked out. I mean, luckily, like, we had backups in place, so we had to wipe the two machines, do a full sanitize of the network, check all the devices, roll back the backups. So it was about, day and a half of downtime, pulling all the data from the cloud, rebuilding the machines. It was still a disruption, but that could have been avoided. That machine shouldn't have been. It was an old one they bought from home. They thought, we need a computer, we're going to plug it in. It should have never gone on the network. But again, that's like, we'd already outphased all the Windows 7 machines ages ago, and they just plugged it in. So it's the awareness. They did know, but they still did it anyway. That's the worst case we've had. I've seen others, we've done work for other companies as subcontractors. So I've seen worse things, but that's the worst one. Like, Clyk's experienced it, firsthand, really.
And then, when you're speaking to, again, whether it's anybody, whether it's a friend even, or somebody in business, how do you or is there any barriers that you face constantly when you're trying to express how important it actually is, to make sure you've got the fundamentals, the basics in place for this cybersecurity? Yeah,
I'll be honest, it's cost. I get the economy's not great at the moment, and it's like COVID, and it's like blow after blow, inflation, this, that, and everything. But yeah, costing is one of the biggest barrier. Some cybersecurity isn't expensive. Some of it might just be some training software for your staff. But yeah, generally it's like, I've got to spend on this. And because it's strange, right? There's no direct benefit. The direct benefit is not having pain and not having risks. But you can't be the measure. You can't say, I've avoided 10 attacks because I paid for this. It's not easily quantifiable. So I think businesses trouble to see the value and then therefore spend on it because they've not experienced the pain. But if you experience the pain, it's too late. So it's a tricky one. It can be a tough sell, to be honest with you. I was just going to say, I suppose after experiencing the pain then, surely that expense has got to be, twice as much, even more, which could actually happen to a business. Yeah, if you've had worst case, you're really basic setup, you're not even got backups in place. Yeah, and you get ransomware. There are specialist companies where they do forensic data recovery. So you'll send your drives away and they'll do forensic recovery. But yeah, that's probably very expensive. And that's a last resort, really. Those companies, you should never use those companies because you'd have at least so if our clients, we'd have local and cloud or 2 cloud backups. So you should never rely on those. But yeah, it's very expensive. And then generally, for the people who've been hit with attacks, they will come back and say, right, okay, we need to train our staff. We need better firewalls in place. We need this in place. We need extra backups. And then that gets spend. But you can't wish everyone get attacked, can you? And then they get what's going on. So it's it's tough. That awareness as well, isn't it? The educating awareness campaign. All we can do is drip feed content out there, videos, blogs. We actually produced a free cybersecurity guide, a leaflet or PDF you can download, and it's literally just giving away free knowledge to help people be aware of what the risks are out there, and then they can make their own informed decision then. And then when you mentioned, about whether a company, when they have realised or they have experienced something, and then they also start to identify, well, perhaps it would be a good idea if our staff also took up some training as well. For, staff members, how sort of crucial could that be for a staff member to maybe even identify something or, just to be more involved in the awareness of the cyber attacks? I'd go as far as say it's the most probably important thing you could do to protect your business, because that's the way they get in. We've all been dead busy. I could come out of here, go, I'm going to check my email, flick on your phone and go, DPD, I'm expecting a parcel, click a link, and then it's game over. It's dead easy into everyone's crazy busy. You don't always proper laser focus on an email. And it's easily done. It is really easily done. And nowadays, like with AI, you've got like people calling up like fake pretending to be other people's voices, and they can use AI to scrape your website and collect so much data on your supplier to like really mask and pretend to be that supplier. It's just getting worse. And because humans are the weak link, they're just always going to get targeted most.
And on AI then, I mean, AI coming into, so many different things and into your industry. I mean, how do you see it? How have you seen it so far, from what you've just mentioned there as well, and also going into the future? Is it going to be a massive sort of detriment, or is there going to be certain things which are going to be useful?
Yeah, I think there's two ways to answer that. I think, say, take security out of it. So AI at the moment, I say it's a 50-50 mixed bag between. There's a lot of stuff where a lot of companies are just bolting it on and it's not really adding any real value. It's just doing like silly stuff, or they'll say it'll change the world and it isn't. And then the other 50% is like actual good application of it. So you've got like Microsoft Copilot and stuff, and it is like, it can be really, really good for your account. But then there's a lot of like drawbacks to it. There's a lot of security implications you've got to think about. But I think a lot of people are jumping on like the AI bandwagon and saying, "Oh, upgrade to this, pay the extra for this AI," and not all of it's useful. Like Canva AI, for example, is quite good. You can ask it to create a sort of image, and it'll create it for you. And Photoshop's done an AI thing like only last week. So you've got like so you've got like a aircraft on a runway, and you want to add some stripes in there. You can say, "Oh, add me some yellow stripes on this runway," and that's useful. But there's a lot of non-useful AI about. And to answer your question in terms of security, AI is like, with a no doubt, making security a much harder job. They're just using it to impersonate data, scrape a lot more data than they ever did, and they can impersonate chatting back to somebody. So it's a lot easier now to make like fake chatbots, and there's all sorts going on now. So like the criminal side of AI is just making security like a hell of a lot harder. And again, it always ties back to, they're trying to trick you, they're trying to find the weakest link, they're trying to get in on you. Because generally security software is pretty good. It's not that often you'd have like a data breach, or like the security will fail. So if you've got like a decent IT department or decent MSP, you shouldn't really worry about security too much. In terms of like technological security, it's the humans that need to be regularly trained, regularly tested, analysed, like especially work from home, locking the PCs, public Wi-Fi, like tidy desk policies. It's like the basics like that, like walking away, locking your computer. It's literally focusing on the humans and making sure they're as aware as they need to be. Yeah.
So taking you back again when you were 16, and now we're talking about AI in 2024. Seeing, you got hooked in from a young age and everything with IT, and then everything that you've got on to do now with your own business, and you've seen the developments, you've seen the changes and everything. Would you ever imagine that these things would be happening back then? Did you ever sort of see any visions or how technology could develop when you were younger?
The only thing I thought I'd predict, and it's not come true, so I wouldn't bet on me as a bookkeeper, is I thought as like tech came into schools, like when I was at primary school, they used to wheel out one computer in like it was like some sort of metal cage, and they used to unlock it, and there's like one like for the year. I thought as young people embrace technology, and sort of the Instagram generation and the TikTok generation and whatever you want to call them, I thought they'd be more like tech savvy and more security savvy and be able to like maybe fix IT things or put systems in place. But whereas that they're really, really good with technology, it's the other side of it. It's more like the consumer tech, and they're not particularly even as security aware as some people in my generation are. So I thought they would be more savvy, but not particularly. They've got a really good set of skills like influencers and selling products online and stuff, but in terms of like the business security, it's not there, which I guess is good fundamentally for us as an MSP, because like we still got a place. But I think like people need to look at like what young people are learning and what they're being trained on, like, and get them prepared for it. Like, because AI is just now, isn't it? There's going to be something even different. Like spatial computing's like another big one coming out. I think it's just the awareness of what is coming next, and just trying to make people know what the risks are, basically.
Yeah, and understand those risks.
Just understanding. Just like understanding, just being prepared, just being prepared for it, really.
And you mentioned there a few different things I'm just going to touch on. So you've mentioned like influencers and everything like that. We're talking about businesses, we're talking about, the general public as well. So really, everybody, well, you've mentioned, using your phone, using anything. Everyone's on the phone now, like you've mentioned, busy lives and all that sort of thing. But it really is being, I think, everybody use any piece of technology as being, you need to be that cyber aware, really, don't you?
Oh yeah, like, okay, yeah, businesses are the target, but like consumers are just as much as the target. Like scams, like shipping scams, eBay scams, Depop, anything like that. Etsy, yeah, there's so many scams out there. Like it's crazy. I'm like quite active on Reddit. I go on Reddit a lot, and like the amount of like scams and stuff. We've seen one at the moment where like someone will post you a envelope, and to your address just be like a blank piece of paper in it, or they'll send you a jiffy bag of DVDs, right? And what they're doing is they're using your address to do fake Amazon reviews.
Oh wow!
So Amazon know they're legitimate. Amazon will go on, they'll check Royal Mail, they'll check they've delivered it to your address or your business, whichever. They'll check the weight of it, hence the fake DVDs, and then they're using like fake review forms to then do fake reviews to then sell their products. So there's a huge scourge on Amazon of fake reviews. It's like it's actually a massive problem. And they're actually spending money to send out like thousands of like postal letters and packages to do fake reviews.
Well, see, this is the thing as well. You know, you just don't think about these things and how, what an impact it can have, with all these things that are going on in the background and all the different developments, like we talked about AI and what's next. So before you go, Benjamin, I just want to ask you, what is next for you, and where do you see the future, whether it's with Clyk and everything that you want to do, whether it's in the local area or further afield that you're also reaching as well? But what's the next step for you guys?
I think for Clyk, yeah, like we've already worked with quite a lot of companies over the UK, but we're just trying to like expand that reach. So the web company we work with, we're just expanding on our areas, just cover like literally all of the UK and just target certain areas and certain like niche areas. So yeah, that's a big thing for us. We obviously can work anywhere, and we can have engineers go anywhere in the UK. So we just want to continue to grow. And the main thing we want to focus on is actually getting the most out of tech. A lot of companies, they could actually really grow or be more secure or more more productive based on the tech they use. So it's again, like I said earlier, it's like an awareness campaign of tech isn't just like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Office. It's like there's so many good applications out there, whether it's CRMs, database apps, forms, data collect, whatever, millions of things, right? So we're all about the added value in tech. In terms of the industry, I mentioned like spatial computing's a big one. Apple Vision Pro, like can't wait to get one. Not in the UK just yet, like saying this year. I think that will be interesting to see where that goes. Again, AI, I think we'll see a lot more practical applications of it. I think like Apple hasn't even started yet with AI. So obviously they've got their conference in June, their developers conference. We'll get the updates in September. So I think this year we'll see AI on Apple devices, and you can imagine like all the market that'll open up to. And I think like, whereas Apple aren't even generally first on anything, like when they do it, it'll then blow up and become mainstream. So I think we'll see AI really take off towards the back end of the year.
Benjamin, thank you so much for coming into the studio. That's Benjamin Challinor from Clyk here on Business Spotlight with me, Sonia Farrell.
Business Spotlight, shining a light on our local business community. Brought to you by Cross Rhythms and Baba Baboon.